Hi guys, Professor O'Brien here again. Just covering some end of semester material, uh, which has to do, number one, with the applicability of this course, and number two, with what you can do in the university after taking this course. Now, by the applicability of this course, I guess I would mean particularly, will it get you a job? Well, that, that's a big question for any university student at the moment, obviously, but it certainly can't hinder. Linguistics is one of those words that looks great on a CV. Whether it's the truth or not is another question, but having linguistics on your CV tends to make an intended employer think of you as somebody who is, number one, multilingual, whether that's true or not, and number two, somebody who knows that language works as a system and somebody who may know that system. This makes you immediately more appealing to, let's say, a school principal, if you're considering going the education route, or a company manager who thinks you'll be just the person to handle language related material uh, in the company, and somebody who may be able to systematize things, whether it be language or something else. So, like I say, this is an excellent minor to have. But I'll be talking about that again in a few moments. I'm going to draw your attention to page 336, 337 of our course textbook, Linguistics for Dummies, the top 10 jobs for linguists. Some of this is a little specious, but some of it is highly relevant. Now, if you like language and linguistics, if you feel you have an aptitude for it, there's nothing stopping you considering further studies in the field, getting a master's degree, maybe a PhD from a research university, and becoming a theoretical or experimental linguist. Now, a great deal of the advances we see in language, such as language recognition, speech synthesis, and so on, came out of language laboratories in universities like Cornell, Stanford, Harvard, and the like. Well, MIT, Harvard not so much. Um, and that's where you'd be going if you were considering a career in theoretical linguistics or experimental linguistics. Now, the first third of our course introduced you to the idea of language as a system. Uh, we don't just look at nouns, we look at noun phrases. We don't just look at verbs, we look at verb phrases. And we're now aware that those phrases move around sentences according to prearranged rules, that language is pronounced according to prearranged rules, um, that words change according to prearranged rules. Uh, uh, what are those rules? Can we study those rules? Darn tootin' we can. And like I say, that's what you would typically be doing. You'd be analyzing language uh, from a systematic perspective if you were going into the areas of theoretical and experimental linguistics. Um, Sociolinguist and dialectologist. I don't really imagine there's that people are beating down the doors of universities to get sociolinguists and dialectologists, but I do know people employed in these fields, typically teaching language or linguistics in universities. Sociolinguistics is quite interesting if you're interested in, let's say, the dialects of a language and the differences between those dialects. And this field comes into its own if, for example, you're interested in developing speech synthesizer that can speak with a Scottish accent or an Australian accent, or speech synthesizers that can speak another language. This is the sort of field where having skills in other dialects or languages can be put to good use. Um, it was the field of sociolinguistics and it was sociolinguists that allowed the Shinnecock Indian tribe of Massachusetts to revitalize their language, for example. Language documentation specialist. If you're interested in dictionaries, if you're interested in systematizing language, this is your field. You might find yourself working in a library in this field, or you might find yourself working in the jungle, collecting words from tribesmen, or you might find yourself driving around a country, collecting recordings of speakers telling stories from which you can then collect vocabulary and so on. Speech scientist. You very often find people with a knowledge of linguistics going into speech pathology. And that speech pathology basically involves analyzing the speech machinery of the human body, and is particularly interested in speech difficulties. Now, this is also applicable to people with hearing problems. The passive side of speech pathology is audiology. What's going wrong with your brain or your ears that you're having problems understanding language? Speech and language pathology requires a language knowledge of linguistics, and speech and language pathologists find themselves highly employable in school districts around the country. There's no drop in the number of speech and language pathologists who are needed. So if you're interested in taking a route like that, it is auxiliary to teaching, if you like, and you often find speech and language pathologists setting themselves up in independent practice as well. Forensic linguists, you do find them. You often find large police districts employing forensic linguistics, and you could imagine a forensic linguist, for example, specializing in things like handwriting, language analysis, dialect analysis, with a view to perhaps identifying who wrote the ransom note, who sent the mysterious text. Was this will actually written by the person they say it was written by? So forensic linguists do find themselves being employed to give evidence in courtrooms or back up legal claims in some way or another. Voice coach, if you have a gift for dialect, you might find yourself teaching actors dialect. If you have an excellent command of English, you could imagine yourself perhaps teaching immigrants or people with strong dialect how to speak, so to speak, without an accent. Of course, there is no such thing as accentless English, but Americans tend not to recognize, tend to see people who speak the American dialects as having no accent. What you'd be doing, of course, is teaching people to speak like Americans. Computational linguist. This was a niche category until relatively recently, until people realized how significant and how necessary things like speech synthesizers and speech recognition are. Also, of course, the analysis of speech corpora. There are great leaps forward being made by corporations such as Google, for instance, using computational linguistics. You could imagine a computational linguist programming a translation algorithm, for instance, so that something written in Spanish will come out accurately in English on the other side of the screen. Lexicographer, somebody working with dictionaries. This is a rapidly changing field. Until 5 or 10 years ago, dictionaries were primarily available in printed form. Now dictionaries are more commonly being consulted using mobile technology such as smartphones. This is a huge growth area, and it also means that lexicography, rather than being publication date oriented, is very dynamic. You'll find the Oxford English Dictionary, Collins Dictionaries, and other publishers are updating their lexicography websites every day with new words or new meanings of words that they're finding. Product namer and advertiser, I really don't see that as something linguists could necessarily find themselves in. But on the other hand, I think it's no harm to know that an excellent knowledge of language, what words mean, what they imply, is necessary for naming products. You might be interested in doing your own research on who thought up the name of Viagra and why, for example. Okay, so I hope we've established that there are careers in linguistics. And of course, there are many other careers where you can use a knowledge of linguistics and language to your advantage. And this brings me to the second half of this lecture, which is my marketing speech for the linguistics minor. You will find in the course documents section of our Blackboard page an Excel file towards the end. If you scroll down, and in that Excel file, you will find a list of the courses that meet requirements for the linguistics minor. To get the linguistics minor at William Paterson University, you need 18 credits. That's it. And 3 of them you already have if you successfully pass this course. We have linguistics courses from available from several departments that meet the linguistics minor requirements. One of the fundamental courses is Language 1120, Understanding Human Language, and that is a required course for the linguistics minor. The other courses tend to come from other departments, and you will probably find you've taken several of them already. Recently, I was speaking to a student who was unaware that she had taken 12 credits of the 18 necessary for the linguistics minor, and all she needed was two more courses, and she would have the linguistics minor. And that's something she did the next semester, taking those 2 courses from the department she was majoring in. So you take 2 theory or history of language courses, and we have courses on offer from the philosophy department, the languages and cultures department, the speech and hearing department, the education department, and the English department. And then 3 electives, 9 credits from a list of about 15 courses. And this offers courses from the English department, the anthropology department, the communications department, the psychology department, the education college, computer science, of course, and several other departments. It is very easy to get the linguistics minor without taking more than 2 or 3 courses that you are planning to take anyway, if you are in the College of Humanities and Social Sciences. So I hope my pitch isn't falling on deaf ears, and that some of you will consider taking several of these courses and minoring in linguistics. So with that, I wish you all an excellent end of semester, and I hope to see you at some stage between now and the end of semester. But if not, thank you very much.